The Jehovah's Witnesses just uploaded the December 2024 JW Broadcasting episode, and normally this would be exciting, but has been the case lately that this is just a re-upload of what they talked about at the annual meeting a couple of months back. Now, if you want to know what happened at the annual meeting, I've already made a 2-hour-long video. I'll put a link in the description below. I also made a truncated version of that. That's only about 12 or 13 minutes long. But whenever they do re-upload something, I like to see if there's any differences, any little whoopsies that they might have made when they uploaded it, or tinkered with some things, with some goofy little editing. And it's kind of funny, one of the things that I found, so I gotta talk about it. Now, there's something that I noticed in my original upload that was 2 hours long, so let me just replay that for you now, just to give a little bit of context to what I'm on about here.
These are ways that we have reflected the glory of Jehovah. What a privilege we've had to do so, haven't we? In spite of all these privileges,
It's almost a joke how if a governing body member is giving a talk, if they pause for any length of time after they try and muster something that sounds remotely inspirational, people will clap. And yet, this geezer gets nothing. He even asked the question, what a privilege we've had, haven't we? Haven't we? The reason I don't think he gets the normal routine clap here is because he's not putting any life into it. I don't think that this man wants to be giving this talk.
What a privilege we have as older ones to train and teach younger ones. With that in mind, it is a pleasure to announce that 2 additional brothers have been appointed to serve as members of the governing body.
So a couple more times he does a little pause, no clapping, does the pause, this one, looks up at his audience, still nothing. 2 new governing body members. And the crowd goes wild and starts clapping. As soon, on like frame 1 of someone's, as soon as he hears that little tiny bit of smile that he has evaporates immediately like a fart in the wind. Now, I think it's hilarious that I really identified how this was the same frame that you can hear the clapping, that his face changes, because when they re-uploaded this as part of their monthly broadcast, and again, when I was watching it, it is part of not something that every Jehovah's Witness around the world can see. There's only a select few people. Of course, it gets leaked out and this, that, and the third. So when I did my original video on that, that is a direct live stream that was recorded as it was happening, so they couldn't edit anything out of it. And so this is how they chose to edit this exact same moment. And keep your eyes peeled, because you'll notice something very specific about this very specific frame that I pointed out. Take a look.
It is a pleasure to announce that 2 additional brothers have been appointed to serve as members of the governing body. Members of the governing body. Members of the governing body.
Well, it would appear I wasn't the only one that noticed that his demeanor absolutely changed as soon as he heard that clapping, because they cut away. Now, I don't know exactly why they chose to edit it this way and not just go directly to the audience, but they actually keep 2 frames of him in that smiling position. So you can see there's like a little line here, and they accidentally zoomed in, because you could have made it look completely seamless to where no one would have actually noticed. But it like zooms in just a tiny little bit. Why they did that, I really couldn't tell you. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that if you're a person giving a talk in Jehovah's Witness culture and the audience starts clapping, a lot of times you'll clap along with it. Here is an example of someone doing that earlier before Gerrit Lo gives his talk. And here's an example where Gerrit Lo himself is clapping along with the audience. So I just think it's important to highlight this, because this is a long clapping break that has been taken here, and he does not participate. He is not going to budge. Again, I don't know for sure. I can't read his mind, but it would suggest to me that this is his way of saying he's not too happy about the situation. But what I did find pretty amusing about this is in their efforts to try and cover over Gerrit Lo's response to something that, he knew this was going to happen, was in the works for a while, no doubt. But what they didn't account for was that the audience also was going to have a very interesting reaction. Why on God's green earth they didn't just show a generic clip of the audience clapping is absolutely beyond my ability to even think about. Why would they show this specific clip of the audience clapping? Now, I'm going to play that again, and then we're going to look at it a little bit closer, but let's just see if you notice anything.
It is a pleasure to announce that 2 additional brothers have been appointed to serve as members of the governing body.
Now, this is a very big announcement in Jehovah's Witness land, because this is essentially saying that God has appointed 2 new spokespersons. Jesus is going to now be using 2 different people in order to get his message out there for the rest of the plebs that are followers of the governing body. Now, everyone's reaction isn't just all happy, clappy, we're so excited about this. So let's take a closer look at some of these people's reaction. So this row I find pretty interesting here, especially this guy with the green handkerchief. He can't even be bothered to clap. He just whips out his phone, starts texting someone immediately. Looks like his wife, or I'm just assuming it's his wife, is leaning over and touches his arm and is asking him a question. He gives 0 response, and I mean nothing to her. And he's shaking his head. Clearly, this man is not happy with what was just said on the platform. Now, I was thinking about this, and should I even make a video literally about people clapping and their reaction? But I'm trying to think, okay, what can a Jehovah's Witness do if they're not happy? There's nothing that they can do. They don't have a platform where they can say, man, I don't really agree with this. Wait, what in tarnation is going on around here? The only thing, if you are sitting in that audience and you are questioning it, would be your clapping. It's very blurry here, and it's kind of hard to see exactly everyone, but really the only sign of emotion or clue that we could get to someone's genuine, authentic self would be in the way that they are clapping along. How long are they clapping? Is it enthusiastically? Are they smiling? Are they talking with people? So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there as I rant on for the next 6 minutes about people clapping. Now, the next specimens we can examine are Stephen Lett and his wife. Now, maybe for health reasons or something, she's not clapping super enthusiastically, but if you take a closer look, she's kind of clapping and staring at Mark Sanderson's bald head and as he's sitting next to some young guy. Anyway, and she lets out a sigh in such a way that the person sitting next to her crosses her arms and looks at her in a way like, oh, are you okay? Is everything fine? And I thought that was an interesting sort of body language thing, just her absolute shock that she appears to have. The only thing I could think of was, okay, maybe she knows what happened with Toni Morris. I would assume, I would bet, if I were a betting man, I would put some money on it, that she knows actually what happened with Toni Morris and why they were kicked out of Bethel, the going-ons behind the scenes. Is this look of shock like, yep, we're next. We're not going to be able to live here with all of our friends, but is that going to happen to me? Are we going to be kicked out and be living across the street from old Toni Morris in some ho-dunk town in North Carolina? That was sort of the feeling that I got, that she was worried or shocked about this announcement, which also leads me to think that her husband hadn't told her about it, but it would be hard to really say that for sure, obviously. Now, our next victim here, you can see, is an interesting example, and it's not just her specifically. Quite a few people in the audience are taking notes and not clapping at all. Now, just for reference sake, I want to just show you a clip of when they say something else.
We thank our Heavenly Father Jehovah for raising up such faithful men to share in the work of the governing body. We pray that Jehovah will richly bless Brothers Jedeli and Rumpf and their wives.
It's not like, oh man, I better make sure I write this down. I might not get to hear their names again. These people know damn well they're going to be showing up on the broadcast. And my thought process is, hey, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm just going to keep pretending to scribble notes or something. And again, if you are uncomfortable by them announcing another set of governing body members, and you're a Jehovah's Witness, and you're kind of like, wait, what? Really? New governing body members? Oh, Lord, who's going to get kicked out now? What about really? Are they doing this? Oh, my God. Come on. Give me a break. If you're thinking that, you don't have a lot of options without drawing too much attention to yourself, other than clap for a little bit and then go off and do something, or just pretend to take notes. Now, if you watch that back again from the note-taker lady, her friend appears to lean over to the lady sitting next to her and says, 2 of them? I am no expert lip reader here, but it looks like she says 2 of them. She doesn't look too pleased either, because her other friend beside her is just clap, smiling away. And then she's like, 2 of them? And then stops clapping and seems to be thinking and processing the information. And I find this interesting because you can sort of look into the audience here and get inside the mind of the current Jehovah's Witness landscape. You do have people that are thinking about what is being said from the stage and not just clapping along. Now we got another head shaker we gotta point out here, and this guy's full on looks over to someone else and is just shaking his head. He is clapping. I think it looks like he's clapping, but he is shaking his head. He is having none of it. doesn't look happy at all. And then a couple of the other people surrounding him, ends their claps a little bit early, not looking super excited about what has just been announced. Again, this is something that is supposed to be a very happy, joyous thing that everyone's experiencing. Jesus chose 2 new leaders. Wouldn't you be excited about that? Unless you are asking questions about why Jesus is choosing 2 new leaders. So the lady in the pink, and I don't know if it's her son, the facial structure, it's a little blurry. They look a little similar. He gives the old, and then starts clapping like, wait, really? Are you serious? Are you kidding me right now? And then the lady in pink, she does not look excited about this situation either. Now, the lady in front of them in the green, I believe this is the person sitting next to her is a governing body helper. I think his name is like Sarenko or something. I could be wrong. Again, we're dealing with some blurry pictures. But if that is him, and he has been a governing body helper for some time, and his wife kind of mumbling something, and it looks like she's almost shaking her head, I wonder if that's a whole situation of like, wait, how long have these guys been in Bethel? You've been a governing body helper for 20 years, and now some goober that we've barely heard of is getting up. This is ridiculous. I can't believe it. We're in shambles right now. Now, there's this whole row of ladies here, and none of them are really looking up. None of them seem to be interested in clapping. They look properly confused and or upset. Why they're so tied to their notes, again, we can only speculate. But again, I think that if you have a negative if I was sitting there and I was like in shock, and I didn't want to show that to anyone for fear of people wondering if I'm questioning the decision of the governing body, I would just keep taking notes. That I'd keep my head down and I'd keep taking notes, and that way it looked like I was paying super attention. That is a common Jehovah's, when you're thinking about something else and you're at a convention, just pretend to be taking notes. People will, oh man, he's very serious. He's really paying attention, even though you're not. Now we have the last person that we'll zoom in on here, because I think we've basically solidified the point. You can have fun too and go through and zoom in on everyone and find out what you think about all their different reactions. But the black guy with the bow tie, he doesn't clap at all. It looks like his wife, she's just having a good old time. But I wonder if he's thinking that his camera battery might die and lead to a really awkward edit. Anyway, with all of that, I wonder if he's thinking, 2 new white guys. Really? We've hardly seen Sam Hurd in a while now, and now we're going to make this organization, at least from an outsider's perspective, even more bad in the category of being diverse. We're going to embarrass ourselves publicly with our unwilling stubbornness to think that someone that's not just some white dude could be a spokesperson for Jesus. For crying out loud, there are a lot of people on the planet that aren't white Americans. What are we doing, guys? So I don't know. Again, we can only speculate about what some grainy little me creator characters are thinking here. But just doing this kind of analysis, I cannot help but think that there were a significant amount of people that were uncomfortable with this announcement. Now, I like that they included this in there because it's such an own goal for Watchtower. Hey, we don't want to embarrass ourselves by showing Gerrit Lo's reaction, so let's show the audience's reaction. But why choose this one? Why not just choose when there is an announcement that everyone is happy about, that everyone is clapping for? They specifically chose this one, which I think is the authentic, real reaction of people when they heard this. So anyway, let me know if you think I have just been hitting the galaxy gas too hard these days, if I've completely lost my mind and I have looked way too much into people clapping, but I found it kind of interesting just because it helps us peer into the mind of what current Jehovah's Witnesses are going through with all of the rapid changes that are happening within the organization. Anyway, that's about all I got. If I do find any more little interesting tidbits when watching these side by side, I will certainly let you guys know. With all that being said, stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to show yourself the same kindness that you show to others. You better have a good ass day.